And welcome to Unit 1 in our New Mexico History course. My name is Brandon Morgan, and you've probably already seen my videos elsewhere, but if not, it's good to get to know you. Welcome to the class. This first unit is all about us getting to know each other and getting familiar with the discipline of history. So thinking about how academic historians undertake historical research and construct historical narratives. We'll have to be thinking about that throughout the course of the semester as we think critically about historical events that have occurred in New Mexico's past. So, this unit is designed to get us started on that track. If you have not already done so for another course, the first section of this unit asks you to create an avatar for Blackboard. That is very helpful for just kind of putting, if not a face to a name, an image to a name. So remember, if you want to remain somewhat anonymous, it's more than fine to choose an image of your favorite sports team, your favorite animal, your own personal pet, whatever it might be, rather than a picture of yourself. Sometimes I post avatars of myself as historical figures. I actually haven't done it in a semester or two. Maybe I'll do it again this time around. We'll see. So again, that's something you'll be doing. Also, introduce yourself to the rest of us on the discussion board. I've given you a prompt, but please, just let us know who you are in your own way. That is a space for you to let us know about one another in terms of not just who we are academically, but who we are as human beings, and how we can interact with each other to support each other as we complete this course together this summer. Also, you'll be thinking about history a lot. So please do note that history, for better or worse, is not just memorizing a bunch of dates and names. In fact, that has very little to do with history at all. Instead, history is about putting the pieces of the puzzle together, about uncovering stories of the past so that we can understand how we've come to where we are. And for me, one of the really powerful things about history is the way that it allows us to feel empathy, to build empathy for people who are not like us, whether that means they're not like us because they lived in a whole different time and place, or just a different time in the same place, or because they come from different cultural, ethnic, religious, and so on backgrounds. It's important, I think, for all of us to understand each other, to do our best to communicate, and as we do that, we'll be able to put together the fullest picture of the past as possible. We'll be focusing a lot this semester on the notion of historical thinking. In short, historical thinking includes all of the habits of mind, the methods and practices of uncovering the past, of learning about the past in the fullest way possible, of not discounting certain perspectives, but including as many as we possibly can to get the biggest picture possible. I say it that way because there is no kind of set vision of the past, right? We don't have all of the information at our fingertips. Everyone who tells us about the past does so through his or her own particular cultural lens, their own way of thinking, and so all of us will have our own biases. I think that quite often bias has a negative connotation, so we use it like it's a negative term. I don't want us to think about it that way. Instead, I want us to recognize that all historical sources, whether they're primary or secondary, and you'll be identifying what the differences between those are by the end of this unit, but all historical sources contain bias, no matter what. It's our job as historians to figure out what those biases are so that we can understand what information is useful from historical sources. We can't throw out biased sources simply because they're biased, or we would have no historical record at all. So instead, we need to learn to read historical sources critically, put together the pieces of the puzzle as best we can, and think about what things are missing, right? The historical record is this sort of abstract notion of all of the records that we have about the past as if it was one unified thing. But it's not. Records of the past include many different things. They include oral histories when we talk to relatives. They include oral traditions from our certain, or from, excuse me, from certain tribal groups or ethnic groups. They include written documentation. They include artifacts. All of these things can be read and interpreted differently. All of these things together comprise that thing I keep saying is the historical record, but because of the nature of those artifacts and materials, we don't have the complete story. We don't have one objective view of the past that we can just look to and say, okay, that's what happened. That would be nice in some ways, but it's just not reality. So instead, we need to think about what are the unique things that history brings to the table in terms of helping us weigh information, think critically, and understand how to put together puzzle pieces about narratives of society that will help us better understand not just ourselves, but one another and how we interact with one another. So that's my little spiel about the kinds of things we'll be talking about in Unit 1. I'm very excited to hear your insights and perspectives on all of this. Also, please, if you have questions about Twitter, I've tried to embed tutorials and help as much as I can. But please, let me know whenever you have those questions. You will be posting 5 tweets for this unit. They will deal with distinguishing between primary and secondary sources and defining that thing called historical thinking. Also, please take a look at the course timeline. There's no assignment for Unit 1. You don't have to do anything with it yet, but I would like you to try to familiarize yourself with it so that you can ask questions before we need to be using it on Unit 2. Okay, so that's kind of what we're doing, where we're headed. As always, let me know what obstacles you face, what speed bumps you hit. You can contact me via email, via text message, via Twitter, and I look forward to completing Unit 1 with you.